Now here's Dan Corbett with the inside story on the latest weather news.
Thanks, Carol. Now, here on the Weather Show, we endeavour to bring you all the weather stories from around the world, but we thought it would be good to maybe put a bit of context in some of these and how the actual stories that you see on the news, these weather stories, how they actually develop. We start off with Taiwan. International aid is still arriving in Taiwan weeks after the island was hit by Typhoon Morakot. More than 500 people are believed to have been killed in the deadliest typhoon to hit the country in 50 years. The storm caused almost £3 million worth of damage and left thousands of homes without power and water. The severity of Morakot even forced some people to watch helplessly as their homes were washed away. So let's take a closer look at Typhoon Morakot and see how it formed. And this one was quite strange, quite different, because normally the typhoons form in the Pacific in the very warm water. That's where they get their energy, their fuel. This one did so, but as it worked its way towards Taiwan, there was a ridge of high pressure sitting to its north. So instead of just moving into China and just weakening as it loses its warm water source, this one just sat and worked across Taiwan, and then because of the ridge of high pressure to its north, it spun for days and days and days, dumping all of that water on parts of Taiwan where some spots saw as much as 9 feet of rain. 9 feet of rain. Imagine 9 feet of rain in the span of 2 days. One of the highest rainfall records ever falling there in southern Taiwan. The Atlantic hurricane season may have been quiet for the first 2.5 months, but that all changed recently as 3 named storms formed in just 33 hours. Bill became the first major hurricane of the season and got up to a Category 4 as it sustained winds of around 125 miles an hour. Bill caused flooding and power cuts to Bermuda before passing along the eastern seaboard of the United States. Well, let's take a closer look at Bill and see how it formed. It formed here in the southern Atlantic. This is the wind field, the swirl, and the center of the dot is the actual eye where the strongest winds are on the eye wall. It continued to move in a fairly favorable environment, warm water, light winds, so this thing took off. Category 3 and eventually a Category 4. Stayed north of many of the landmasses, the wind with the Leeward Isles, and as it continued north of Puerto Rico, a system across the eastern seaboard of the US brought westerly winds, and that kept it away from much of the landmasses. And this storm as well has brought some of our recent wet and windy weather too. This week Greece was hit by a series of wildfires which forced the evacuation of thousands of homes across an area some 50 kilometers wide. The fires were fanned by strong and unpredictable winds that made conditions extremely difficult for firefighters. The fires are the worst since those of 2007, which killed about 70 people. Well, let's take a closer look and see why conditions have been quite tricky for firefighters across much of Europe. Big ridge of high pressure in place. Think of that like a big mountain of warm air just sitting there, hot, dry conditions, particularly down to southeastern parts of Europe. And the squeeze of the lines, some fairly swift winds at times, particularly with some of the funneling around the mountains through the day, not helping the fires, if anything, spreading some of the flames. So making it quite tricky for the firefighters there. I hope that's explained things. I'll see you again.